is from Turner Construction, and he's a local Detroit native, and he also does a lot of advocacy for community service. He's part of the Michigan Sustainability Manager and SPD Project Manager for Turner Construction. He's currently pursuing his MBA at Wayne State University. He's part of the USGBC Detroit region, serving as the lead for ND committees. And without further ado, here's Harold and his presentation.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me clear? Yes, thank you. Thanks for Dr. Amari for, having me as a panelist today. I am happy to, have this conversation about PMP and LEED and how those two processes can contribute towards successful project integration and implementation. So today, in my presentation, I'm going to talk about the LEED process and some of the PMP principles and how they tie into construction projects from a general contractor perspective. Okay, so I would like to start by just, sharing a vision statement, and this is Turner's vision statement for sustainability. Going into, finding about a LEED project, you have to have like a structure, which is mentioned throughout the presentation today as a part of, what are the successful things that contribute towards a LEED project. So environmental efficiency is one of them. You have to have guidelines on, how your construction projects are going to operate. And, that's really key in regards to utilities. Resiliency is another key to also consider as a general contractor working on a potential LEED project. How can, you bring resilient expertise in construction management that can help towards, evaluating decisions that impact design or cost or quality in regards to a specific LEED project. And then also green building, USGBC is all about the built environment and, implementing environmental goals on every project. So, that's one of the best practices that, throughout Turner's LEED projects that contribute towards the success of, completing a successful LEED project over and over. The triple bottom line really is engraved in the process and the approach of how to successfully plan and execute a LEED project. Patrick mentioned this earlier in his presentation. This is really embedded into the integrative process and should be, considered in, all of the different aspects of, planning and implementing. What is project management? Project management, really just going over the fundamentals is knowledge, skills, tools, techniques that it's going to take, maybe from a general contractor in order to, complete the, engineering and the building and the testing and management of that specific project. With the project management approach, they have it broken out into different categories like initiation, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closeout. Those procedures from a PMP standpoint help facilitate milestones for any type of project, not necessarily LEED, but however, in this case, for the purpose of this presentation with LEED, a lot of these similar milestones are outlined in the integrative process. And, one of the parallel opportunities here by having a PMP professional facilitate a LEED project or engaging, learning PMP principles and encouraging maybe a project manager to pursue a PMP certification could also help, increase the success factor of this potential LEED project. The contractor's role, really, I know this is a long list of stuff, but really, it's really a structured list of stuff. So it's broken down similar to the, primary phases of the PMP process, which is, like in the design phase, early in the stages when you developing a project charter and, the design team starts to bring on those stakeholders. It's really important to also, from the owner and the architect and engineer perspective in the design phase to consider, hey, maybe we should bring a general contractor on board because, we can help with the feasibility and discussing the execution, discussing, what risks are out there as it relates to client potential goals and the LEED certification, referencing, if they want to do a platinum or a gold or silver certification. So just going down a few key items during the design phase, the design team need to, establish kind of key things like how much of it is going to be reused, how much but square foot of a project is going to be preserved, constructability reviews, setting up the integrative design process, identifying sustainable materials. An example of sustainable materials might be if the job going to be 100% green board or not, for shaft liner and regular gypsum board, or if it's going to be 100% LED lights and light fixtures that might not have ballast to reduce carbon emissions. Like a lot of those designs, it's good to have a general contractor on board at that time so that you can kind of consider those different things. And those different things also help contribute towards pre-construction and value engineering input. So anytime you can, identify qualified, competent contractors that you might have a LEED project for, it's always good to maybe, once you have a short list of contractors that make the qualified bid, to do a scope review and see, which contractor has the best qualifications to help implement the vision of a potential LEED project. Pre-construction, really it just continues on with the project management life cycle to, further develop the scope and then, come to an agreement where you feel pretty confident with the design and the intents of the design and the sustainability goals. So in pre-construction, you develop things like the finalization of submittals. And then that's once you get submittals, you really start bringing on, all of the additional LEED team, like the commissioning agent and the project management team and the sustainability manager specifically for that team. Let's see. Next slide, continuing the contractor's role, startup and mobilization. The LEED plan has to be developed. Materials and resources got to be finalized, submittals approved. You got to have a stormwater waste management plan, all of the fundamentals, construction and waste management plan, identify municipality diversion plan, indoor air quality. You got to have the works. And, one of the key things that was reiterated throughout this presentation is that it can be a lot. And the project team has to be a unique project team with people that have experience in, doing building of projects, but you also could and should have a champion such as a LEED certified professional as well as a PMP certified professional that could help spear, the project from the start to the finish line. So during construction, you got a lot of different things that the general contractor is responsible for doing, such as establishing goals, metrics, meetings, coordination with all of the different owners and vendors, architects, engineers, commissioning agents, and really everything that you implemented at construction for LEED is at the point where it's being, kicked off and started. So, after you finish building it and, you get it tested out, You go to closeout, where really that's when you're doing all the final commissioning and reconciling all of the different submittals and closing out any open loose ends. But also through each of these processes, at least with Turner, we have a significant, review process to where we constantly evaluate, okay, where are we at? At the end of initiation phase, did we meet all our checklists for our LEED project? At design phase, did we ask all of the questions and, try to engage and encourage any value engineering that might have, been cost effective or a better quality for the owner or a more sustainable product. It's also good as a general contractor, if the spec book doesn't necessarily lay out a specific material that has, a green guard stamp, and one that can be a better source, it's definitely good to recommend that before construction. The life cycle, just kind of giving another summary of that, it's the concept initiation phase, the organizational planning phase, operational execution, and monitoring and controlling. So in each of these phases, it's really key to kind of have a structured system. Now, although everyone may not have experience with the project management approach, and this may be new to some owners or contractors that might be interested even in attendance at this meeting, one of the unique things about the PMP approach is that, most projects go through similar phases, and, there can be numerous phases depending on, the magnitude of the project. And then, you really just take it one phase at a time. 4 dimensions for project success using the PMP model would be project efficiency, the impact that you have for your customers, the business impact on the organization, and new opportunities for the future. The strategic management process is a process that reflects on the corporate objectives. Now, with the corporate objectives, all of those are identified by the stakeholders. And, the strategic planning is a part of what helps identify commitments and also identify risk. So you have a good chance to minimize risk by having a strategic management plan embedded in the LEED goals and objectives for a project. One of the PMP tools that, Turner uses that applies well to a lot of projects is the SWOT analysis. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and this is also in parallel to identifying the type of rigor of a project. When I say rigor, meaning like, a low rigor project might have different variables of safety, cost, quality, schedule, and customer satisfaction, which are some of the key things that you constantly evaluate in the PMP process and in the LEED process throughout a life cycle of a construction project. Metrics, we talked about metrics briefly. Really, metrics help you identify your performance on a LEED project. So, in a project schedule, in the weekly or biweekly stakeholder meetings, these are the things that you really want to discuss and evaluate, even if they are in good terms or in good standings as far as performance or integration. You can really just, take those and monitor them. Critical path schedule, at the beginning of a project, you should have a critical path and also be able to identify through all of the different major phases, what goals and objectives for the LEED project should be achieved. What is a system? A system is basically just each phase of the project. So, you got the management process where you design and you manage and you coordinate and you take those raw materials and the manufacturing and the finished products and you install them. So through all of those, you should have kind of like a lead QA QC person on site, and it could be a designated field staff or engineer that can kind of carry a checklist that, you know, through each of these processes or milestones of a project that you are in good standings, and you carry, you know, the integrative process along with you through each of these phases of the different systems in construction or operations. So resilience, you know, really it's the human focus. You got to consider these things as the builder of the LEED project. You got to consider worker health and safety. Coming out of a COVID-19 pandemic, we all just kind of saw how you know, different social or economic impacts can come in and change things. And a perfect example that a lot of general contractors might have faced is the ability to achieve waste diversion goals. When COVID-19 hit and 6 feet minimum distance was required, you know, a lot of the waste recycling facilities or waste sorting facilities might have encountered abnormal circumstances to where they can't recycle as efficient as they could, because, you know, you have a lot of people that have to be in 6 feet, and now you can't really execute a diverted, efficient sorting, waste diverting method as you could in a normal setting. Am I still good on recycling facilities, Dr. or waste sorting facilities?
Well, yeah, I think the time is up, but if you can wrap it up a little bit, and then we can go to Bob for his last presentation, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. So, you know, I'll try to wrap it up here. Just a few things that the contractor is considerate of, you know, job site electricity use. These are ways that you can help, you know, increase efficiency and reduce, you know, unnecessary electrical use on equipment, contributes towards reducing carbon emissions on the job site. You know, it's a lot of opportunities to do that with LED lights, net zero trailers, hybrid cranes, battery storage, solar charging equipment. Job site water use. It's good to, you know, use fresh water on a job site, and also have different things to, you know, make sure you don't waste water on the job site outside of, you know, construction operations. Job site fuel, one of the most common things, you know, you use a lot of equipment, but some of the opportunities with that is, you know, a lot of idling. Once again, one of the common goals, if we can, is to reduce carbon emissions. And, you know, just going towards wrapping it up, just a few projects that Turner completed here in the local Detroit area is the CHAS Medical Building Community Health and Service. It was LEED certified. The PMP process definitely helped with that project. At the end of the presentation, if you have any questions, we can kind of talk about these projects a little bit more, but I'll just kind of go through them. You know, I brought up the scorecard just to kind of maybe talk about some of the, you know, categories where, you know, performance excelled, and some of the areas where there were opportunities for improvement. So I did have a few projects. The Detroit Public Safety Headquarters was another one, you know, LEED Gold project. Just one key fact I'll point out about that is that, you know, very unique project. Since it's a government building, public safety building, you know, you don't just have the owner being, you know, the Detroit Public Safety Department, but you also got certain integration of engineering and management, like Army Corps engineer requirements, in addition to just regular construction coordination. So unique projects come with unique, you know, opportunities and circumstances. So these were just a few projects that, you know, I wanted to kind of highlight, including Munger preschool through 8, another LEED Silver project where, you know, the project management approach helped carry it through certification. And it was a big turnout, and the school still was pretty active and still sustainable. So here, just wrapping it up, lead management approach, PMP management approach, step 1 through 6 is really just an example, is that, you should carry both of those hand to hand. And if you do that, you will have a good chance to be a success on your project.